Yeah.
Oh, anything else?
No.
Next week.
Yeah.
Winner.
Yeah, the biggest one.
Give us your guesses.
Yeah. If you win, then I don't know.
You get to hear the episode.
Yeah, exactly. For free.
For free. Until next week, guys.
Yeah.
Awesome. We'll talk to you later, guys.
Bye-bye.
Leave junk behind. People have garbage.
Thinking Sideways.
I don't understand.
Does not compute.
You never know.
Insufficient data to formulate a reply.
Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Hi there, this is Steve.
This is Devin.
This is Joe.
I forgot how we were doing it. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Put us together in this little room with these squeaky chairs, and, well, this is Thinking Sideways, the podcast.
Whoa. Synergy.
Yep, this is the show where we try to rationally look at unexplained mysteries, phenomena, weird stuff in general, I guess. People have been asking us how we would describe the show, so I think that's kind of an okay way, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a no.
Try to sort out the BS from the truth.
Yep.
If we can.
But anyway, we're doing something a little different tonight. We're always trying to mix things up, do things a little differently, see how they work. And one of the things that we've been talking about is the fact that we're getting a lot of suggestions, which is fantastic, and we're finding a lot of stories. But unfortunately, those stories are kind of small. They wouldn't be enough to fill an entire show on their own.
Yeah, and we have definitely gotten a lot of feedback that people like longer shows than shorter shows, so we didn't really want to do just like, a couple 15-minute, 20-minute shows, because that just kind of felt like cheating.
No fun.
That's cheating our listeners.
But so what we decided to do is go ahead and combine a couple of stories and run through several in one episode.
Yeah.
So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about holes.
That's right.
As in holes in the ground.
Oh.
Holes in the ground.
Holes in the ground. Yeah, I know. It sounds really interesting, but it actually kind of is.
It totally is.
It totally is.
We found some pretty interesting stories.
Found some good holes out there.
So we got three different stories that we're going to run through tonight, and Joe, you're going to start us out.
Yeah, I'm going to start out. Before I start with my main story, which is Mel's Hole, which some of you may have heard about, in my meanderings around the interwebs, investigating Mel's Hole, I stumbled across another really cool hole called the Well to Hell. And
I've seen that.
Yes, the Well to Hell. So
I haven't. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so the Russian
10
scientists.
seconds.
Yeah, Russian scientists in an unknown place in Siberia drilled a hole that went 9 miles down, and then at 9 miles down, it hit a cavity, and so they were intrigued at what they had come across, and so they lowered some temperature sensing gear and a microphone into the hole. So 9 miles down.
Oh, I do know this actually.
And they recorded the screams of the damned. So in other words, they had found hell, and their temperature measuring equipment apparently put the temperature in there at about 2,000 degrees. Anyway, so the Well to Hell.
Yeah, we know that's not a real story.
No, it's total BS.
Yeah, that appeared on the internet and ran like wildfire, and then thankfully died off, except for the one link that you managed to find on it.
Yeah, and the actual recording apparently was taken from some other recording or a movie soundtrack.
Yeah.
It is fairly terrifying, that recording, if it's like late at night and you're just totally in that mindset where you're buying into everything, then you listen to it and you're like, it's the worst thing ever, but obviously it was
not real.
Obviously
but let's talk about the real holes.
Okay, well,
or at least what we believe to be real holes.
Well, let's talk about the real hole, the real deal, Mel's Hole. This was a suggestion from one of our listeners, Jennifer. Thanks, Jennifer. Appreciate the suggestion. So Mel's Hole is the story begins in the late '90s when a guy named Mel Waters called into the Art Bell show. And Art Bell was a San Francisco-based broadcaster, kind of like Clyde Lewis, kind of one of those guys that specializes
late night talk show, mysterious,
specializes in Bigfoot, UFOs, all that stuff.
Got it.
He would talk about this stuff. So Mel Waters calls in and he says that he owned a piece of property in the middle of Washington near a town called Ellensburg, and he said that there was a hole on his property that was about, I don't know, 9 feet wide or something like that, surrounded by a concrete block wall, like a well would be. But the hole, according to Mel, was bottomless. And he said that people around the area had been throwing their trash in there for years and years and years, and never filled it up. And then
That's environmentally sensitive.
I know. And then what else did he say? It had some certain magical properties. Animals, for example, would not go anywhere near it. Even birds, they wouldn't. And he said that somebody had a dog, and his dog died, and so he threw the dog down the well. Which, really, I know. I mean, what a sentimental guy, you know? It's like, you don't bury the dog in the yard. No, you can just go throw him in with all the other garbage. But anyway, so this guy threw his dog into Mel's hole, and then sometime after that, he saw the dog again.
In town or something?
Alive. There's two different versions of it. One is that he saw it out in the woods by itself running along like it was chasing something. Mm-hmm. And another version is he saw the dog and he was walking with some other person. And when he called to the dog wouldn't come to him.
Oh, I actually heard an even different version of that story. Yeah. That he threw it down and like he was sure it was dead. He threw the dog down the well, but like as the dog was falling down, he could hear it like barking, like it had like come back alive and was just falling.
So it must have just been in a coma.
Yeah. The doggy coma.
Coma. Well, I bet he was feeling kind of regretful at that point.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. Please.
Yeah, somebody actually, Mel apparently, he's in discussion with Art Bell, was talking about various ways to figure out how deep this hole is. And somebody actually, somebody called into the show and suggested throwing a cat down there. So you could hear the cat screaming and yowling the whole way down until it stopped, and that's when you know it hit bottom.
This is a sensitive bunch.
Yeah, seriously, I don't think he ever did that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we do not condone animal cruelty at all.
That. No, please do not do any of that.
Not at all. No, please. Yeah. Mel took a roll of lifesavers and tied him to a fishing line. And he reportedly lowered the lifesavers down about 1,500 feet. And then brought them back up, and they were intact. They weren't wet, so it hadn't obviously hit the water table or anything like that. It's not full of water. And then he claims that he.
You have a.
No, I just feel like that's wrong, but okay.
Yeah.
I also am kind of I'm trying to conceptualize 1,500 feet.
That's a lot of fish line.
How high do airplanes fly usually? Right,
jetliners go about 35,000.
35. So it's I don't know. Is it like a big tank?
A football field is 100 yards. The playing surface, not the end zones, is 100 yards. And there's how many feet in a yard?
3.
So that would be 300 feet.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking, according to this, then that is 5 football fields.
See, I'm sorry, I don't know if this is because I'm a lady or what, but that does not help me at all. Yeah. Can you get, buildings? Can you reference, what a building in this area is similar?
Okay, so for reference, the Empire State Building is 1,250 feet tall.
So it's a little bit deeper than the Empire State Building?
It is tall, yeah.
And has not... Didn't hit the water.
Didn't hit water, didn't hit bottom.
I guess the other thing is that, I don't know that a roll of lifesavers is necessarily heavy enough for me to, once it's down far enough, I don't know that I would notice if I was...
Well, they're nothing but sugar, so they would start to dissolve as soon as they hit the water.
But I guess my thing is that, if it hit bottom... I don't know that I would necessarily be it's still...
Oh, if it snagged on something or hit
something like that.
An outcropping.
Yeah, you don't... And the thing about it is I have no idea what kind of line he was using, but 1,500 feet of line is going to weigh more than the lifesavers themselves.
Yeah.
So he could actually, have hit bottom and still have tension on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
From all that weight.
Right, that's exactly kind of what I'm saying, is that, it just seems like it would be hard to tell what...
All right, so there's an issue right there.
Okay, so sorry.
Well, but no, it gets better.
Oh,
so after his unsuccessful experiment with the lifesavers, he went and got himself a whole bunch more line, and he lowered. He put supposedly a 1 pound weight on the end of this line. Started lowering it down.
I just feel like he needs to be using more weight. I just throw that out there.
I would have come up with a better solution. My solution would have been to turn a radio on, set it to transmit like a walkie-talkie, and just drop it and time it. When it stops transmitting, you've hit the bottom.
Oh, yeah, that's
But
not a
no,
bad
but don't
idea.
they hit a range?
How do you mean?
Like there's a range that, like I
Couple
remember
of
as a
miles.
kid, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah,
with
yeah.
walkie-talkies.
I think Joe's talking
Yeah.
about better walkie-talkies than what we had as a kid that
Alright.
quit when I was halfway across the
Yeah.
yard.
All right,
Yeah.
that's fair.
They were
yeah.
black and had the little orange tip on the end of the radio.
Yeah, by the time I was a kid, we had like colors and like they were good and
Anyway, Joe, you were saying.
So he started lowering this thing down, and when he'd run out of line, he would tie on a new spool of line and keep lowering. So he lowered that thing down, he claims, 80,000 feet.
what? Like how many feet is the moon away from us?
Okay, so the moon is 240,000 miles far away from us. A mile is 5,280. I don't have a calculator on me. I'm too lazy to...
It's 5,000 feet,
It's lots.
basically.
Okay, never mind.
So it's not the distance to the moon.
No.
So not the distance to the moon.
No, but 80,000 feet, that's miles. I mean, that's...
But
Yeah.
okay, so I guess
That's,
like another question is like how thick do we calculate the Earth's crust to be? It's not that thick, right?
Nah, not really,
It's only
no.
a couple miles.
It's a couple miles deep.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
only I mean like 8,000 feet.
80,000, yeah.
You're getting.
Yeah.
You get pretty far down there.
Yeah.
You're getting there.
And I'm not even sure, again, what the strength of the line he was using was. But, at the end of that, you would think that the weight of the line itself would be so much that it would break the line.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So anyway, but it gets better, though. Apparently, after he publicized the existence of this mysterious hole. Oh, and by the way, there's other stuff going on, too. Like for example, some people claim to have seen a column of black light coming out of it and going up into the sky.
Black light as in the black lights from the 60s?
No, just what they call, I guess he called it anti-light.
Oh, so like a shadow.
Yeah.
But like a column shadow.
Yeah, like an anti-flashlight shining out of the hole and up into the sky. So there are people that have actually been dedicating themselves to going out and looking for this thing.
All right.
But before I talk to that, I guess I should tell a little bit more of Mel's story. Apparently, after he brought this to light, the government showed up. on the
Men in
property.
Black?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, it was Men in Black, wasn't it?
Here come the Men in Black. Yeah, those guys.
So, yeah, and so they show up one day and they say basically you can't come onto your property. There's been a plane crash, and he said there's no evidence of a plane crash, but these guys wouldn't let him on his property. And eventually he said that the government leased the property from him for $250,000 a month, and this allowed him to. Yeah, it's a nice, tidy little sum of money, and so.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can't see the raised eyebrow that I have right now. Going, huh?
Yeah. So they leased the land from him for this princely sum.
Well, wasn't
And-
there like a big caveat that went with it though?
What was that?
What didn't they say? Okay, we're gonna lease this land from you for this amount of money, but you cannot be on American soil.
I've heard that. The other one is that he just wanted to move to Australia, and they've sort of facilitated his move, but not that they.
Oh, so Mel left the country.
Mel went to
Yeah.
Australia for a couple of years. Where
I didn't know that.
He engaged in wombat research, he says.
So the impetus for me asking that is because, as I'm sure you're about to talk about, as soon as Mel comes back from Australia, the minute that story goes, at least, the minute he set foot on American soil, his money was all taken away from him. All of it was taken away from him, and
That's
he had
what he said.
nothing, and he was just trying, he had to get a money order from his nephew to make it back to his property. So there's a little more in-depth Men in Blackage happening there.
Weird stuff going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't know, there
Yeah.
are two conflicting stories about that, obviously.
Yeah, he hasn't. So I don't know exactly. He claims that the government served him with papers and basically seized his property.
Does anybody know if he'd been filing his taxes?
Nah, I have no idea. Nobody
No,
even
no.
knows.
That's usually a good reason for the government to seize your property.
Yeah.
They know you have
Yeah.
something worth value.
Yeah.
Nobody actually knows if Mel even exists. Apparently, people who checked the roll, the voter rolls and just the telephone directories and everything else for Ellensburg and surrounding area, and they found no record of anybody named Mel Waters living there at all.
Although, let's be fair, if you're going to call a conspiracy show with something like this,
Maybe you'll want to give him a fake name.
yeah.
So after he returned, they seized his land, and then Mel got on a bus in Tacoma, Washington, headed for Olympia. There was an altercation on the bus, and the police showed up. They asked Mel to give a statement. and Mel wanted to just leave, and the police said that they would give him a ride in their van.
Their van?
In the police van.
Yeah, why not?
So he didn't need to get on the bus, so he could stick around and give a statement. So anyway, he gets in the van, and that's the last thing he remembers. He wakes up 12 days later in an alley in San Francisco. He had been beaten. His molars were missing. They pulled his molars. And
I think that would have woken somebody up.
Yeah, and there was evidence that he had been hooked up to an IV. And he had a homemade. One of his hobbies is making belt buckles, and his belt buckle had been stolen. And and by the way, when he checked his bank account for all that money the government had been giving him, it was all gone. It had vanished.
Of course.
Yeah, and Mel's story gets even more strange, and I'm not going to get into everything because Mel had further adventures down in Nevada where he found a second hole that had similar properties.
But here's the let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do we know where Mel's hole is?
No, there's only, and this is the thing that's kind of mysterious. It's like, according to Mel Waters, everybody in the area knew of it because they were throwing all their crap down it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but strangely enough, nobody knows where it is. There's one guy that lives in the area. His name is Red Elk, and he claims to be an Indian shaman. He's got a white guy name too, but I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. But so he claims that his father first took him there in 1961, and he's been back there many times. But he's also led numerous expeditions to try to find the hole, with no success. I was reading a news account in one of the local papers about a bunch of people that went out on a hunt for the hole, and Red Elk took the lead, but they didn't find any holes.
Was it Red Elk that did the Coast to Coast interview, or Coast to Coast AM interview, or was it Mel that did that interview?
That was Mel Waters.
Or at least ostensibly.
Yeah, Mel Waters did that. Red Elk actually does exist because I saw a news report on a Washington station about Mel's hole,
Mm-hmm.
and he gave a little bit of an interview.
Interesting.
And yeah, it was funny too. They're on this road out in the woods, and the news lady that is doing the report, he's like standing there next to the camera, and she's heading up the road supposedly towards where the hole might be, and he's going, "You shouldn't go up there." And he's all it's all maybe
mysterious.
Maybe that's why they'd never found the hole. Is Red Elk is afraid to find the hole.
That could be.
Yeah, I don't know. So anyway,
but nobody's ever found this thing.
No,
for all we know, it's hyperbole.
Yeah, nobody's found the hole. It could be that the government, when they had control of it, maybe they filled it in.
No, it was
all
bottomless.
80,000 feet of it. The government's got a lot of garbage.
Or covered it. You could just cover it, right? I mean, like a trap. Those like traps in the middle of the woods where you just like cover it like a net and then like put leaves over it.
You put a rug over it like the Bugs Bunny cartoon,
Yeah.
and then put leaves on it. Nobody will find it.
Nobody will ever find it.
Well, what I think they probably did is they put a holographic projector inside the hole, and it projects what appears to be three-dimensional ground. So it looks, you could be standing right next to the hole, and it just looks like another patch
But they
of ground.
also put a weird electrical fence around it, so if you like went that way, you would get like an uncomfortable electric shock. So you would be like, oh, I better not go that way because something's weird there. To keep people from walking into the hole.
Actually, it might be too. They've got like sort of an electric eye tripwire and speakers, and when you trip that, the speakers go off and they sound the brown note. And so you know what the brown note is, right?
No.
I feel like Toucan Sam. I'm surrounded by Fruit Loops right now.
Yeah, I like the idea of the brown note. But that was on an episode of a hard-hitting documentary episode called of South Park
and Mythbusters. Yes,
and this one note makes people poop their pants. And so you're out there, and all of a sudden you poop your pants, and what are you going to do? You're going to run back to your car, and you're not going to
hang out.
You're not going to just hang out.
Keep trooping around.
You might. It depends on the kind of person you are. So I guess. I mean, is that it for Mel's hole? Is there like any
people? I know people have been looking for it for years, and I believe that who was it that suggested this? It was Jennifer.
Oh yeah, Jennifer.
I know she said that she went to college in that area, and that was one of those things. It's kind of like a snipe hunt. They would just go out in the woods, looking for Mel's hole.
Yeah, I mean, if you believe what Mel Waters said, it's somewhere like about 9-10 miles west of Ellensburg. So it's not a huge area. You could actually comb that pretty well and probably find something.
If he was telling the truth about the direction,
yeah,
or he was good at direction, he might be like me who doesn't know north from up.
Well, north is up.
See, that's my problem.
Step on all
What's the-
that.
Everybody keeps
fault?
affirming that I'm right, and then I look at stuff and I'm wrong.
What's the problem here? I don't understand.
All right, so those of you who still think the hole might exist and still want to go out and look for it, I've got one piece of advice that'll really help you narrow your search down a long ways, which is the hole has got to be next to a road. The reason for this is Mel Waters, if you're going to believe what he says everybody was throwing their junk in there. So you're not going to strap your old dead refrigerator to your back and hoof it like half a mile into the woods to throw it in the hole. So it's got to be right next to a road. And not a 2-lane highway even, not even a little gravel road. It could be just a little mud track, but there has to be vehicular access to the hole. Take that, and you don't even need to get out of your car to go look for Mel's Hole. All right, so there is a local geologist whose name is Jack Powell. He was cited in a newspaper article, a very recent one, as saying he thinks that there is an abandoned gold mine in the area, and it's not bottomless, but it's about 300 feet deep, perhaps. And he says that perhaps that's what somebody saw that, and that's what they think the hole is. But he said that he knows of no other holes around, and he said, also being a geologist would be the kind of person you'd want to talk to about stuff like this.
Presumably.
He said the problem with a bottomless well is that the deeper down you get, the greater the pressure of the surrounding, and so it would collapse.
Oh, the force of the earth, the weight
would-
of the earth would force it to close on itself at the bottom.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That does.
Yeah, he says it's...
Oddly, this scientist is making sense.
I know, but yeah. so
Weird.
he says it's geologically impossible. The other thing is that it's at some point it's going to go below the water table and not that
Yeah,
far
that's
down.
kind of
Yeah,
been
that's
my
the
problem.
hard
unless
problem.
it's
Particularly in
perfectly
Washington.
impermeable. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember going to a lava tube up on Mount St. Helens. It's called Little Red River.
Yeah.
And it's closed to the public, but my friends and I have a special sneaky way in. And anyway, but that one goes down for a long ways. It goes continually downward until you get to this point where water starts coming in through cracks in the walls because it's below the water table. And then you go on a little bit further and you get to this spot where there's sort of an underground lake down there because the entire thing is filled up with water.
Yeah.
And, and that's not that far down, really.
Yeah, and you don't have to get that far down. Like in Ape Caves, for instance, that doesn't necessarily go.
And that's
below
out on the
water
Oregon
table.
coast, right?
No, that's
No,
actually... It's by Mount St. Helens.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of, I think, Seal Caves.
Yeah.
out on the
Yeah.
coast is
It's
what I'm thinking of.
actually just a few miles from this other one that I'm talking about, Little
Okay.
Red River.
Yeah,
Cave.
so it's just, the thing of it is that, in the Pacific Northwest, we get a lot of rain. Our ground is fairly saturated with water, and the Ape Caves is not below the water table, as far as I know, but
No.
the water, it's always wet down there. It's always wet down there because, the water seeps through just because it rains or whatever. And there's always water down there. And, even when you're crawling into the very deepest bottom ones, it's always wet down there. And if it's just a pit, the water is going to collect. It just, water goes places and...
Yeah,
Path of least resistance.
rainwater and stuff like that will fill it up too.
Yeah, so even if it's somehow not at the water table, that whole, you hit the water table. It's just part of being on Earth.
Yeah. Yeah, you think it would have been found by now with things like, what's that website? Google Earth?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think we would have found it by now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I actually got on, didn't see a hole.
Shocking.
That's because it projects black light and the
Oh,
camera
that's
can't
right.
focus
That
on
could
it.
be.
Yeah.
It might have blinded the satellite.
Yep,
yeah, a
that's
good
it.
point.
Yeah. So actually, you know what I think it is I think it's a hole for the lizard people to use.
Oh,
You-
yeah.
Dude, it's the lizard people. I want to talk about the lizard
You
people
love
for a
the
minute.
idea of the lizard people.
They're going to steal our water
Uh-huh.
from the water table has been decimated there. My hole is obviously proof of this. Are you guys ready for this?
Yeah.
So the hole that I want to talk about is Devil Kettle Hole, or Devil Kettle Falls,
Falls. Yeah.
and it's in Minnesota. Okay, it's in northern Minnesota, pretty close to the border.
Where the mosquitoes are?
Yeah, where the mosquitoes are. It's
That's really specific, Joe.
so it's in Judge C.R. Magny State Park, which is this huge state park, pretty much on the border of Canada and Minnesota.
It's Lake Superior, right?
It's really close to Lake Superior, and the falls are about a mile and a half from Lake Superior itself.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're like the lowest falls, but I don't know that for sure. The Brule, are we gonna say it's the Brule River?
Brule?
Essentially, what happens is this river, through a lot of series of falls, drops like 800 feet from where it starts to Lake Superior. This particular fall is like a 50-foot drop. One half of it makes this drop, at least.
One half?
One half. So, you know, at the top of falls, how often there will be like a rock in the middle and they split off into two different.
Is this the rock that in the Looney Tunes cartoons? You remember back Yosemite Sam would be trying to paddle away from, and then that's what he'd be stuck in the middle of the falls on?
This is literally the Looney Tunes rock.
Okay.
Okay, so it divides the Brule, or whatever, however you say it, river.
I say Brule.
Brule?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just going to not say the name of the river anymore.
Okay, so it divides the river.
So it divides this river into two, and it's pretty much solid two halves.
Mm-hmm.
One half makes the 50-foot drop and continues on to the 1.5 miles to Lake Superior. The other half drops into what's called a kettle, or like a pothole kind of thing. It's like just a hole.
It's a hole in the rock.
Basically a hole in the rock. Drops into the hole in the rock and goes... Who knows?
Mysterious.
So we've just got one giant... I mean, I'm assuming water's pouring 20, 30, 40 feet
drop.
in. Oh,
it's a 10-foot drop. Yeah, it's
but that's
fairly
gotta be,
short.
you know, like it's a lot of noise and activity, but the water level never rises. It just...
Drops. 10 feet
going.
and